So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'd love to introduce, today we have Kelvin and Hannah. Both of them are currently participating in internship programs. And I just want to really point out, there's theoretical knowledge is great and we can give you all the information in the world, but the insights that they can share with you are going to be more relevant and will help you to get a better grasp on what kind of experience this is, what you're going to get out of it, what it really looks like on the ground. So I want to thank Kelvin and Hannah for being here. Amazing. Kelvin, would you take a second to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kelvin. I'm currently carrying out my internship at Scrap. They're into environmental, helping keep the environment clean and all. I'm a software developer there, and I'm working remotely from Nigeria.
Amazing, welcome. Hannah, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah. I use she, they pronouns. I am currently in London in my lovely little student suite, so it's very fun here. I've been here for about 4 weeks now, so we're halfway through the 8-week program that I'm a part of, and I'm currently on my lunch break from London Flair PR to be part of this. So that's what I'm doing today. That's a public relations firm that does a lot of film promotion and works with a lot of film festivals in London.
Awesome. Well, I'm so honored that you would use your lunch break to share your knowledge. So thank you so much. Let's dive right into the questions. So the first one is, what specific goals or outcomes do you hope to achieve during your internship experience? Could you start us off, Kelvin?
All right, so I got into the internship with the mindset of looking for a company I would like to stay with after the internship. So I wasn't just looking to work for a company for a specific period of time. I needed a company that I would grow with. And also I'm trying to transition from the oil and gas to the tech industry. So I was looking for a company that will help improve the skills that I've gotten from learning software development, being self-taught. So just looking for an environment that would help me improve on those skills and use them physically to help a company achieve their own goals as well.
Amazing. That's so strategic. I love it. Hannah, go ahead. What specific goals or outcomes do you have or do you hope to achieve during your internship experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently back home, a master's student at Florida State University. I do a program called the Media and Communication Studies program. And so a big thing for this internship for me is kind of growing that part of myself that's the intercultural and multicultural communicator. So a lot of the ways that writing and social media and film promotion specifically to my internship are done in the UK are very different from a lot of the ways that public relations firms handle those kinds of tasks in the US. So it's one of those things that just kind of learning what the culture is like in the public relations world of London, specifically the UK and London as a city is a communications hotspot. It's been a dream for me to visit here since I got into the communications degree in my undergrad. And so really just trying to grow those writing skills and those social media skills and the ability to kind of adapt and pivot based off of the cultural audience that I'm trying to appeal to as a communicator. So far so good in terms of managing that and doing that with my PR firm. They've been really awesome about kind of exposing me to the culture. I've been to the office a few times, and really and truly it's some of those more like smaller things, like just meeting people that have a different accent and think about things and talk about things differently. That is teaching me just as much as like the daily assignments that I have in the internship.
Amazing, amazing. So not everything is unicorns and puppies, let's say. We know this about life, and internships are no different. So I'd love to hear from you, Kelvin. During your internship experience, can you tell us about a situation where you faced a setback or encountered a challenge and how you handled it and what you learned from the experience?
All right, so it's probably going to be in 2 parts. I've done an internship with the intern group prior to the current internship I'm currently doing. Well, the previous internship, things didn't really go well. Things didn't go well because I had like an expectation. I was going in as a project manager, And during my internship, I wasn't doing only project management job. It was more like I was being a personal assistant and I was given other forms of work to do. At that point in time, I wasn't really going to accept other works. I wanted to learn project management. So I withdrew myself from really putting in all the effort I could for the other works that were given to me. And in the end, we sort of had like an issue during the internship. And also in terms of email communications, I hadn't learned how to properly communicate via email. So what I was trying to tell who I was reporting to might sound different when you read it in the mail than when I say it in person. I took that thanks to Manami because we spoke about it and she brought that to my notice and I put all that, went back, put myself back on track. And now that I'm back in this new internship, I know how to communicate better, how to give better feedbacks. If I'm giving anything outside my software development role, I accept it and put in my full efforts because you never know whatever skill they tell you to learn outside what you want to learn, where you would use it in future. So yeah, that's the setback I faced and how I went about learning from it and putting it into the new internship I'm currently doing.
Amazing. I love that you brought that up because this is something that happens pretty often in internships. And that's why it's really important to, one, just as you learn, set really clear expectations from the beginning of what you expect to get out of the experience so that you can make sure that your supervisor and your team are aware of that. Otherwise, like there's going to be a possibility that they're just sending you over tasks, right? So it's really important to communicate that up front. And when it's not meeting your expectations, I think, Kelvin, you addressed this really well also, to make sure that you have that open communication, because otherwise like, it's very natural to just say, you know, this isn't what I wanted, I'm not going to do it. But there's so much that you can get out of this experience that taking that kind of attitude can actually end up like working against you. So thank you so much for sharing that experience. And Hannah, I'm also interested to know, what have your biggest challenges and learnings been so far in the 4 weeks that you've been on program?
So two things kind of come to mind for me, and they're very like logistical in nature, but I think that that's kind of some of the other things that you need to consider when you're doing an internship abroad. One thing is definitely that the commute to my office, for instance, is over an hour. And that was something that I wasn't prepared for. I was ready to be a little bit closer. But it does give me the opportunity to, like, I take a book and I go on the underground and then I get on a train and then I get on a bus and it's like a little adventure. But when I was first doing it a couple of days in a row when I first arrived here, I was feeling super exhausted and super burnt out by the time I got to the office. And so that was something that I needed to have a conversation with my supervisor that said, listen, like our work is very feasible to do remotely. Is there any way that I can work in some remote days as well as having a couple days a week that I come into the office? And so just bringing forward the option that I would be comfortable working remote, we arranged something perfectly. So now I only make the commute once or twice a week, which is much more manageable for me, especially considering that I'm doing all kinds of public transport in London trying to get there. And two, it allowed me to communicate a little more honestly with my supervisor while I was kind of trying to figure out how to make it the most comfortable experience for me and not completely burning myself out so that by the time the 8 weeks were done, I would be so exhausted that I wouldn't remember anything. And then the second thing too is, so in the past week, I recently came down with some sort of illness and I wasn't really sure what kind of illness it was, but it was definitely in conjuncture with my internship and was kind of keeping me from being able to focus. And so, being honest with your health needs and being honest with your bodily needs and how you're feeling with your supervisor, I think is also something super important to highlight, especially because it can be really scary when you're alone in a new country and you're not sure how the health care works. I'm from the US, so our healthcare system is very, very unique in nature compared to some of the other healthcare systems abroad. And so being able to be honest with my supervisor and letting her know, hey, I need to take a day to go figure this out and go figure out the hospital systems in London. That was something super important for me to be able to work successfully this week because I took the time last week. So just some of those things that are like more personal challenges, but they kind of intersect with your internship because we're all people in these internships at the end of the day.
Amazing. I love that. And like long commutes can kind of suck, but I feel like the first couple of times that you do it when you're in a new city, it's also cool because it takes you and you're like, oh, that thing's there. Like, oh, I might want to go visit this. I might not want to do this commute every day, but it helps you to like get out there and see what's there. Awesome. And then I just want to really highlight really quickly something that you said also, which was advocating for yourself. And something that we see pretty regularly with interns, especially if it's their first kind of internship experience, is that often they don't have the confidence to advocate for themselves and say, hey, this isn't a good use of my time. I'd rather split up between remote and in person, for example. Or, hey, I need some me time for whatever reason, whether it's going to the, like figuring out the healthcare system or, just reconnecting with yourself. So I love that. I love that. Great insights here. What I want to do right now is open up the questions for the audience. So if we've got any questions right now from the audience, we'll take them and then we'll move into the questions that we collected from the audience previous to the event. So if anyone has a question for Kelvin or Hannah, you can go ahead and put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. We've also, Manami, you've shared the Slido link, right?
Yes, the Slido link is over here. If you guys want to ask questions, it can be asked anonymously. So we have a few questions in the slide already. So shall I go ahead and ask them, Emily, or do you want to?
I can grab them.
Cool.
So, Kelvin, this is a great one for you. What are the benefits of a virtual internship?
All right, so for a virtual internship, the benefit for me is I'm currently working here physically in another company. Doing a virtual internship gives me that flexibility to do both jobs because when I manage my time well, I'm able to do my physical work and also attend to my work remotely. When you work virtually, yes, it's nice to be in the presence of people that you're working with, but you also have like time for yourself. You have time to do other things. All you have to do is just know how to manage the time you allocate to the work you're meant to do, and you should be good, basically.
Amazing, thank you. Another question that we've got here is, how can we prepare ourselves to succeed during the interview process?
I love a good interview, so I can jump in. Sorry, Kelvin, I'll let you go after me, I promise. I'm very passionate about interviews, and my interview process was a very fun time for me. I think one of the best things that I could say, well, there's two things. I always try to dress to impress, even if you're on a Zoom. It very much matters how it, like if you're a feminine presenting person, if you've got your dark circles covered and you're looking gorgeous on the Zoom, you make sure you've got your HD version on. If you're a male presenting person, to be sure that you wear something with a collar or wear something nice. I've always found that it makes me feel more confident in an interview to know that at least from the top half where everybody can see in the Zoom, I look fabulous. I look confident. I look business professional, like I'm ready to step into their office already before they've even accepted me. So that's definitely one thing. And then the second thing also leads into that confidence and having your resume kind of right next to you while you're talking to the people in your interview. We can say all day that we know ourselves very well, except when somebody asks us about ourselves, and then we are completely mind blank a lot of the time. So it's very helpful. I always try to keep a couple of notes and key questions that I like to ask during an interview that helps me to feel confident when I'm then presenting those to the person interviewing me. And then also keeping a resume or a list near me that I can kind of refer to and be like, oh yeah, I did have this experience in 2021 that I really want to talk about, but maybe I wouldn't have remembered because it was 2 years ago. So those are some of the kind of key things that help me interview successfully. So yeah.
To answer that question, as I was thinking about my answer, this might work differently for different people, especially in terms of the career path you're taking. But for someone like me that wanted to go into software development, I already had previous personal works I had done to showcase. So you know that you're coming in with evidence that you're capable of showing effort into that type of work. Always have, like Hannah said, always have like points on what you want to ask. When you enter, you need to have confidence. As much as you want to intern in a company, you need to let the company know that they need you to add value in their company as well. So during mine, I had, that's coming in now for the second internship that I'm currently doing. I knew that, okay, this is the kind of programming language I knew. I had 2 interviews prior to the current company I'm working in. They wanted me to learn something different, and I weighed my options and I felt that, okay, if I'm to learn something different, there's a possibility I won't be able to add in as much value as I would. Don't be shy to tell them, okay, this is your goal, this is what you can do, this is what you want to learn. Let them know that. And the current company I got, I made it clear to them that, okay, this is what I can do. Be confident about your skill. Whatever company you're going to intern with, be confident in yourself and confident about your skill. Look at it as you selling yourself to a friend, because when you look at it too official, there's a probability you get hiccups and you say things you're not meant to say. But just be free and know that this is an internship I'm coming to learn and I'm valued, so you need me. That's the mindset you should have while you're entering into any interview.
1,000%. I love that answer. I'm going to let you guys know I am going to drop a link here in the chat. We are in the process of opening up our entire learning experience for the general public. So anyone, anywhere in the world will be able to access. We'll be releasing over the next 2 months content that goes from writing your CV, deciding what kind of internship to do, to leveraging your internship and using it to get to your next professional experience. So go ahead and click that. It's free for everybody. It comes with automatic certification that is shareable on LinkedIn. So thank you there. What other interns pay? So we have a question here from Felipe. What would you say was something you would have done differently to get the most out of this experience? Although both of you are still in the experience, is there anything up until now that you would have done differently?
For this current internship, no. But if I was asked this question in my previous internship, yes, what I did for this internship is what I would have done different, which is I had my goals set out. I knew what I wanted. And during my interview with each company, I was clear about what I wanted. So now some people, just to put into better perspective what I mean, what I wanted. Some of you might, you're still in school, you just want to do an internship and go back. The quick advice I'll give is, even if you're going back to school, it's always good to put in your best efforts, because after school, it might be a landing ground for you before you get that dream job of yours. When you put in so much effort, the company might need you back after your school before you apply for the bigger jobs. If you are not in school and you're entering a company, some of these things might be important to you. You need to research the company. So these are things I would have done differently from my previous internship. You need to research the company properly, look at their staff strength, look at, is there a possibility of them retaining people? Are they just looking for purely interns and they're not looking for anyone to join the company? You could go through some profiles of people that are currently in the company, look at their growth, look at when they joined, and all. You could also reach out to them to ask them questions. And during your interview, ensure that you let them know that, okay, I plan on looking for a company I would stay with. I want to grow with this company. This is what I hope to achieve after a year, after my internship. So all those things are things I put into this current internship, and I am honestly having the best time of my life in this current internship. So I hope that helps anyone out there. Or Felipe, I hope that helps answer your question.
Amazing, thanks. And Hannah, what would you say?
Yeah. I think so. Technically, it's not something that I would do differently, but it's something that I'm actively pursuing now that I maybe haven't pursued in previous internships. And it's specific to doing an internship abroad. Last summer, I was also abroad in Barcelona working internationally. So I've had 2 summers now to kind of get my feet wet in terms of that. And I think the biggest thing is when you're living and working in a new country, yes, the work is important. Absolutely. Your day-to-day tasks are important. But at the end of the day, what's really going to be key is relationship building. I think a lot of the time interns kind of tend to forget because they get so busy trying to do their best work that it's important to be a people person while you're in this other country. Because I think, for example, my previous internship in Barcelona, it wasn't with this program, but it's pretty similar to this program. I didn't realize the kind of relationships that I was creating until I was abroad again this summer. And I ended up reaching out to them and they offered me to come stay at their house, for instance. And that's something that is super incredible. And it's awesome to have international connections that you've worked with and collaborated with before, because not only may you have a spot at their company or a spot to work with them on some sort of international conference sometime in the future, even if you're back at your own home country. But when you're traveling again, you have these friends that you can reach out to, that you can go visit, you can go see, and you have a reason to go back to your favorite city that you spent 8 weeks living and working in. So I think that's also a huge part of interning internationally is meet people and build relationships with the people in your company and make an impression so that they would love to see you again if you were ever in that area.
I love that. Exactly. And it's again, networking is the #1 job strategy. So even if you get nothing else out of your internship, it's super important to focus on those relationships because they'll keep coming back to you and they'll keep serving you for the rest of your life. So we're going to get to 2 more questions from our interns, and then I want to invite Dolly, who is in charge of our admissions, to answer a couple of specific questions we have about our program. So the first one is, how do you settle into a new country, or Kelvin, if it's virtual, how do you settle into like a new organization and make friends during this experience?
I can jump in really quick just because that's sort of on the previous vein that I was on. I think one of the most important things is to kind of try to let that fear go and that anxiety go as much as possible. Everything is brand new. The place that you're sleeping is brand new. The food that you're eating is brand new. And just being okay with everything being new and everything changing, and that you don't have to be in control of any of it, will allow you to kind of be your best self and be your most authentic self in those work situations in which you are trying to build those personal relationships, as well as making friends with people in your program, making friends with locals in the area in which you're staying. Those are all like part of a very multifaceted international experience when you're living and working in a place. So it almost feels to me like summer camp in a lot of ways. And I know that's a weird analogy, but it's really trying to put myself out there as much as possible and serving my authentic self that I've worked so hard to become in a place that is completely unfamiliar to me, but they have no idea what to expect. So I often try to kind of bring my best self in most social situations, whether that's informal or formal with my internship, and allow the people to kind of like, oh, who is this person? Like, let me figure out why this person would be an interesting connection. And that goes back to your point about networking, that I think that if you have the guts to push yourself to be an authentic person, not only in the workplace, but in your daily life, that international travel does become easier because you have a sense of identity that you can hold on to that is stable, that you can then put out to others and be exposed to all kinds of wonderful things.
Well, unlike Hannah, that it's in person, remote internship, I think it's kind of different. It's the same, you still have to network, but most times you are not going to be online with the people you're working with throughout your working hours. So during your work meetings, during such meetings, don't be shy, ask questions, contribute. Some companies have, they use Slack and they do this whole donut meetings where you have to meet with each person in the company. Like my company, that's what we do. So I do have time to have personal conversations with each person, and it's not about work. It's about just both of us getting to know each other. I would advise, if such a company does that, you could maximize it. If they don't do that, now you're knowing it, you could always introduce it into the company and tell them that you would like to get to know each person, or you could just reach out to someone that, oh, please, can we have a private meeting just to talk? And I'm sure most people will be friendly enough to accept such a meeting. So don't be shy. The same way you get into class, I know it's not easy to always make friends. Someone like me, I try to observe first for a while before I'm really outspoken in a group where I find myself, but don't be quiet too long. Do your observation. After a week, the next week, try to ask questions, and I am sure you will have friendly people online too that would approach you and help break that awkward shell when you enter into a company.
Amazing. Thanks to both of you. We've just got one more question for you guys, and then we are going to bring in Dali from admissions. And this last question is, do you have any advice on preparing resumes for internships?
Yes, I do. I think I do. When preparing your resume, just efforts. Let someone read your resume and know that you've put in effort where you are. Even as a student, personal work, things you did in your group, especially if you've not had any previous work experience, somewhere you've volunteered, just put it and ensure there's effort. Now, the second help might be controversial to some people out there, but you have programs or softwares like ChatGPT that does help you to mend your resume to fit what a recruiter would be happy to see. It's something you can quickly go on, register, and use. Put in your resume and tell it to help you with it. Sorry to anyone out there that makes money from building people's resume, but yeah, you can use platforms to help you build your resume, and just always ensure that you put in you let the efforts you put into your work show on your resume, and what you've achieved with those skills. Just show that the skills, efforts, and results. Always highlight that in your points for whichever company you've worked for. Hope that helps someone out there.
Thanks. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some additional things as well, because the resume is a much talked about thing in the professional world. I think that especially if you're a university student, I'm a first generation college student, so doing a resume was like, what do you mean I have to build a resume? I don't even know what to do. The internet is not telling me anything. So I really relied heavily on my university's career center. There are a lot of individuals at career centers or the likes at your universities that are very, very willing to help you with the most updated version of a resume, to make it clean, to make it nice, and to kind of fill you with that confidence that someone has double checked what your resume looks like as a working professional and is like, yes, this looks good. A lot of the times, exactly what Kelvin's saying, even if you just get the reassurance from an additional working professional that says, this resume looks great, you feel 10 times more confident to then submit that resume to a working place. The other thing that I would say, and this is something that I didn't learn until probably into my late undergrad, early master's, is to personalize your resume for the experiences. nobody from one industry wants to see your resume filled with all kinds of things from another industry. It's not useful to them, and you will be put on the bottom of the stack. So what's very important is if you know the industry that you're applying to and you know that you have a particular interest in a particular field, utilize your resume to kind of tell that story. And I think that that's something that we a lot of the time forget with resumes, is that the resume is your narrative in a lot of ways. And it may not seem like that, but it's your narrative as a working professional and as a person, and a couple of bulleted items and a couple of really awesome positions that you've been passionate enough to participate in. So I think kind of using that personal sense, that it's a valuable part of your personal brand, and it deserves that kind of attention, again, as Kelvin said, to make sure that each and every resume that you submit feels like the version of you that you want the company that you're applying to should know.
Amazing. Thanks, you guys. I think both of you are really good examples of how to like get everything out of this experience to use it to advance your career. So love it. I'm going to invite Dali. Do you have a couple of minutes that you could share with us?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
So I'd love to introduce Dali. She works in our admissions area. And I asked her to come here because I see that we have a couple of questions that have to do specifically with programs. Oh yeah, you know Dali. Awesome. Of course you do. Both of you.
Hi, Hannah. Hi, Kelvin.
Yeah.
Long time.
So Dali, we've got a couple of questions here on Slido. How do you do that? So I'm going to start with the first one that's very program specific. Will other interns from the USA be with me at the same job?
That's a great question. So to be honest, it depends. We have international students applying to our program. So you, depending on the destination or the program that you choose, let's say you want to go to London, and you choose to do a program with accommodation, you will be sharing that accommodation with other interns on the program, not necessarily from your same country, not necessarily doing the same career fields as you, therefore not necessarily interning in the same organization, but they will be interns that have chosen that start date and are part of the intern group.
Emily, you're muted.
Great. And the next question is, do interns get paid for internships?
Yeah, so to be honest, it depends. So we do encourage organizations to offer compensation. However, it is at the discretion of our company partners. So it's not something that in the initial process we can guarantee. In the process, like if you are accepted to the program, you confirm your spot on the program with your placement coordinator. This is something that you can look into. So if we do have organizations that offer compensation, that have availability, that match your criteria and you match theirs, and you're successful in that internship process, in that interview process, on our end, you're more than free to accept that. But initially, in the beginning part of the process, it's really not something we can guarantee because there are a lot of factors that go into it.
Amazing. And we've got another one here. What is it? Are there any opportunities where you don't pay for an internship? I understand this question as, do we have a scholarships?
Scholarships. Yeah, so we have a lot of financial aid options. So like under financing on our website, you can take a look at that. They're mostly like grants. If you receive a grant, you get a discount. And we have some funding options available. However, we did have a kind of a full ride scholarship program that we are looking to implement. At the moment, it's we haven't opened it, but it will be something that we will start again. And then that will be a completely separate kind of application process. So you would need to apply for that scholarship and then just go through the application process. And if you're selected, then you would receive basically the fees to be able to move forward with that program. And that would be a full ride scholarship.
Great. And then we've got one here from Cedric. Do you have any tech internships that are located in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to be honest, we partner with, over 3,000 organizations internationally. depending on the program that you're applying for, if it's virtual or is it in person, basically this is why what sets us apart is our placement process. It's very customized, it's very personalized. So once you get your documents ready, and we basically review your profile and see, what company would be a good fit for you. It might be, a big company or a startup, but it really depends on what you said you can bring to the table, what you're looking to gain, to learn, to develop. And we set you up for the interviews with those companies. So it's it's a very collaborative process. It's very personalized. And as you can see, from Hannah, from Kelvin, it's usually a great match on both ends.
Amazing. And we've got a couple of questions here around the cost of the programs. Could you just explain a little bit? And I want to let everyone know also, I see that there are a lot of very specific questions in here around programs, program types, where you can study, how long you can study. So what I've done is that I've dropped in the chat the link to our apply now form or our application form. You can use this link to book a meeting with someone to ask all of these questions, figure out the best program for you, etc. So it's right there in the chat. Go ahead, Dali.
Yeah, so you don't have to kind of know all this information before, like Emily said. You can just schedule a call with one of our admissions consultants and they can go over that information with you. But basically our programs start from as low as $15.95, which is our virtual remote program. We have programs under $3,000 in Colombia, in Bangkok, and then depends. But the best place all this information is available on our website. If you want to look at something specific, you just go to the destination you're interested in, and in that tab, there's something called program fees and start dates. And there's a chart, like an Excel chart for each destination where you can see, how much your program would cost according to the duration of your program and what components, inclusions that you would like to have on.
Amazing, thank you. And I just want to address one more quick question that refers to how the intern group facilitates learning on the job. As the head of learning, I'll go ahead and grab that question. So we do a couple of things. One, we have a team that follows you throughout the entire experience, making sure that you're optimizing, comfortable, and everything in every step of the process. And then we've also created a full online curriculum that takes you from writing your CV to get the job that you want, all the way to leveraging the experience in order to move yourself towards your next career goal. And so that is available throughout the entire program, and it's set up in a way where we've got information there to help you optimize your experience in each stage of the process, writing your CV, doing the interview, those first couple of weeks on the job. And this has to do a lot with what both Kelvin and Hannah were bringing up, which is you got to go in there with goals. If you go in, just kind of blind, you're not going to get as much out of it. So all of this content really helps you to set yourself up for success. And then in addition to that, we have events just like this that we do throughout the program. So it might be with fellow interns, it might be with industry experts, it might be with some of our internal expert staff. And in addition to that, there's an entire team that is your communication point during the entire program. And so any specific issues that you're facing, problems that you need support resolving, etc., it's just an email or a call away, and we've got people there that are supporting you. And we will also likely continue to expand this curriculum towards the next steps. You're in internships now, but after this, you're going to be early career professionals. So it's very likely that over the next year, we'll be extending that curriculum out to help you in those first 5 years that you're on the job. I'd just like to ask Kelvin and Hannah, we're going to close out right now. Is there any final advice that you would give to people that are seeking out an internship experience?
I think the advice that I would offer is don't be too hard on yourself. I think that a lot of the times the expectations coming into an international experience are very high, and we set a lot of standards on ourselves as professionals and as students and as people wanting to travel. The experience is meant to be educational, absolutely. It's meant to teach you lots of things about the workplace and what it's like to work internationally, but it's supposed to be fun as well. So finding a way to let go of some of those more stressful anxiety things that you may be experiencing abroad. I know I'm a very worry wart kind of person, trying to estimate everything that could possibly happen to me in an international country. So letting go of some of those things, I often rely on my journal and a lot of just deep breathing exercises to keep myself intact so that the experience can be as fruitful as I would like it to be, but also reminding myself to rest when I need to rest and to take the time for myself when I need to, so that every experience I can be as present as possible, whether that's something fun that I'm doing on the weekend or whether it's something awesome that I'm doing in my internship. So remembering that it's meant to be a fruitful experience in a lot of different ways, but to also allow yourself to experience peace and to be graceful with yourself when you're missing home or you're missing your dog or all of those things.
Yeah, my advice will probably help those that might do virtual internship, because I don't know how the process is for in-person internship. As Hannah said, don't be too hard on yourself. Now, the intern group, they are going to do the best job in getting you companies for you to get into. But I'm going to say, don't be afraid to say no to your first company. I know this might go against the intern group and saying, "Oh, are you telling them to reject the?" No, if you have an interview with a company and it doesn't really meet up to what you want, don't be like, "Oh, am I going to now do another interview?" or feel that saying no might be being ungrateful or you're missing up an opportunity. If you know you don't feel your career goals will be met in that company, please say no. The next company that comes might just be that company. You might end up going for the wrong company for you. The intern group, yes, will do their best to give you the best choice to further your career goals, but everything still rests in your hands. You're still the one going to experience this internship in that company. So do your research, as I said previously, know the company, ask the right questions. Like my internship, during my interview, it's meant to be an unpaid internship, but I was very open with them. I told them that I needed money to pay bills, and it wasn't like I was in school like that anymore. So they went back, they thought about it, and they decided that they were going to give me some sort of stipend. And by the end of the internship, I would be entering into the company fully. This was the third company I interviewed with. The first two, I recall getting an email back, "Kelvin, are you sure this company is nice?" And I was like, "No, I know what I'm looking for." And I got the third company and it was everything. So don't be afraid to go for what you want. That would be my advice.
You guys give such good advice. Like, I'm going to reach back out to you so that we can include you in all of our strategic courses and leveraging courses also. So thank you guys so much for your participation. I've learned a lot. I hope that our audience has learned a lot. And have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and drop one more time our website link into the chat. I know that lots of people had questions about specific programs, etc. All this information you can find there, and you can also go ahead and click our Apply Now button if you would like to speak with an admissions representative. So thanks so much. You guys are amazing, and everyone have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming.